We are reading from the Mandukya Upanishad. This is our online class number 23 on the last chapter, that is chapter number 4. So far, in and through our studies, the first 3 chapters we have completed. So we have learned that self-realization or self-knowledge happens with the help of knowing or knowledge. Jnanadeva Kaivalyam. With the help of knowledge, only one can get liberation through self-knowledge. Then the question will be, what is the nature of this self-knowledge? Because self-knowledge depends on, number one, what type of self we are talking about, and number two, what type of knowledge will help us to have knowledge of that self, and number three, what type of instrument we will use to have this self-knowledge. Here the instrument should be the intellect. There is no other way. We won't call it mind, we will call it intellect. Then the question will be, what type of intellect should it be? Yes, there is a doubt about our intellect also. It is said that intellect can never know the self. That is what we get from the Upanishads. Then how do you have knowledge, the self-knowledge? The answer is, when we say intellect cannot know the self, we mean that an independent intellect, an untrained intellect that is not trained in a proper way cannot know the self. That means the intellect as it is can be trained intellect called sharpened intellect. Agraya buddhya, the Upanishad says. How to sharpen, how to train the intellect? By introducing it to the data that are available in the scriptures, or in other words, by a scripture-aided intellect, one can know the self. Scripture-based self-inquiry, that is the idea. Our intellect is brainwashed to use transient or relative or changeful data from the material world sources to prove a changeless and transcendental thing. We never questioned this so-called wisdom of ours. I think we argued on this point in one of our earlier classes. We used the phrase, you remember, because the scripture says so, then we have to accept it without questioning. We gave a lot of arguments on behalf of this conclusion. The scriptural data are the fundamental proof of transcendental reality that should be used by a rigorous scientific study. Actually speaking, for an analytical mind, the intellectual process, use of reasoning and inquiry are necessary. Because faith is always vulnerable to questioning. The religions based on just faith do not like reasoning or questioning, because then their passionately depended and built up edifices, the high-rise buildings, will collapse in no time. Because our faith in God without intellectual support is shaken. That is why we see that many believers or astikas leave their faiths, become materialists, non-believers, atheists, or agnostics. They are called the Nastikas. Their argument is that God is unjust and many suffer for no evident fault of theirs in this life. And there is no satisfactory answer to such resentment either. The intellect asks the question like, perhaps God is not there. An intellect that is clouded by inputs that are solely based on faith and not on understanding will always be shaky and then dissatisfied. On the other hand, reasoning opens a Pandora's box of doubts and doubts. This is the truth. Vedanta uses a standard process of inquiry in 3 steps: Sravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam. Listening to the great sayings in the scriptures, in the Vedas, Upanishads, and then dwelling upon them, cogitating on them, reasoning those ideas, and then Nididhyasanam, meditating or maybe going deeper into that. In this process, an intellect and the method of analysis are important. The intellect should be there and the method of analysis, the method should be known. And finally, we will have the realization. Vedanta accepts the possibility of doubts during the process of reasoning. That is why we do reason. Because reasoning means and is also endowed with the capability of creating doubts and solving them. That is why we go on asking questions about all statements by the scriptures. And at the same time, the same we have no question or doubt about our own disorganized, indisciplined, disoriented and scattered lives. Our doubts in the path of self-inquiry bridges the gaps between such opposite realities. Our life comes to terms with our own questioning if by the grace of God or by a reformed intellect we question about our own self. Suppose, for example, a Vedantin says that by knowledge or jnanam alone liberation or mukti is possible. And that liberation is not possible by meditation, karma or bhakti. Immediately the intellect will raise contradictory logic. Bring examples. What about the saints and sages in the bhakti tradition and others following other paths like Janaka and others who got their liberation following the path of karma? That means the intellect itself is raising other options opposed to this conclusion of Vedanta. This is called doubt. At the same time, we should know that a doubtful knowledge, like mere faith, is a weak knowledge. A weak knowledge is shaken always. Followers of such faiths will become dogmatic and fanatic. The history of the world, including the modern times, is proof of such weaknesses in faiths, leading to fanatic defense of their systems by hook or also by crook. On the other hand, the knowledge of our own self, like the knowledge that I am Brahman or I am Atman, Aham Brahmasmi, is not a belief or an opinion. It is our own understanding of ourselves which is doubtless. It is unshakable because this knowledge is the ultimate knowledge. It was not a conviction or an unshaken knowledge in the beginning. That is why Vedanta has a process of reinforcing the knowledge called Mananam. We ourselves take up questions from other philosophies, from doubting minds that challenge our Vedantic understanding. And then we see if our knowledge is shaky or doubt-proof. Mananam is an intellectual process. It does 2 things. It shakes the knowledge to make it stronger, and in the process the intellect, the instrument, is purified also. There is a logic used by Nyaya, formal logic in India, which is known as Sthuna Nikhanana Nyaya. That is a process of driving a pole into the ground. When we drive a pole into the ground, we fix it and then shake it ourselves to see if the pole is unshakable and strongly fixed to the ground. And if we see that it is still shaking, we add some more stones to enforce the foundation and then shake it again and again until the process ensures that the pole is unshakably fixed. We fix, shake and refix, shake and refix the pole until it is no more shaken. In the like manner, we test our knowledge and see if it is a conviction or a mere belief or faith. Then we give more support and make it firm. This is called mananam. Mananam is a process to fix our knowledge on unshakable foundation. That is why it is called sthuna nikhanana nyaya. Sthuna means a pole. Nikhanana means by driving it inside. Nyaya, that is the logic. The practical benefit of this process is that we ourselves become unshakable, not only in our spiritual conviction, but also remaining steady in the face of all sorts of practical challenges, adversities in life. This fourth chapter of the Mandukya Upanishad is a Manana Prakaranam, a Manana Adhyaya. This is a chapter which deals with this Mananam. In the previous 3 chapters, we learned that Brahman is the truth. This variegated universe is relative, and I am the self, non-different from the reality called Brahman. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. That is the Sanskrit of this English translation. So at the end, what we summarize is, in the 3rd chapter we said that the self, the I, is the truth and the creation is relative, hence ultimately this creation is unreal. So what we learned in the 3rd chapter, that aham satyam jagan mithya, that is Advaitam. I am the truth and this world is nothing but a relative. This knowledge of the I is called contactless yoga, asparsha yoga by Gaudapada. The contactless knowledge means I know that I do not become Atman, but I am Atman. I am contactless means nothing can stick to me. I am untouched by the happenings in the world, even though I am always there as the basis of this temporary creation or world. I am not affected by whatever happens in the material universe, including births, deaths of the jivas. This is the knowledge that has been so meticulously taught by the Upanishad and the Karika till the end of chapter number 3. Now we are going to shake this knowledge of ours by this 4th chapter. Don't worry, this shaking is being done not to uproot the pole, but to make it unshakable, steady, strong. This is a unique method. The Upanishad is not preaching any theology, that ours is the only way or we alone have the whole truth. It cannot be compared with other systems or theologies. The Upanishad is showing why this should be the most convincing truth compared to other approaches to the reality. Others have some truth. They have their need and utility, no doubt. But those truths are not free from doubts, and hence they are not spiritual knowledge. This 4th and final chapter can be broadly divided for our discussion into 3 topics or 3 portions. Number 1, the first topic is called Paramata Pariksha. examining some other systems of philosophy which can shake the conclusions of Vedanta philosophy, which can bring in doubts about our convictions. We are checking, are those arguments powerful enough and also valid to shake our Vedantic conviction? Number 2, that is the second topic, it is called Alata Drishtantaha. We will discuss in detail. Gaudapada is summarizing the Vedantic teaching through the example of a firebrand, Alata, a small piece of burning charcoal, suppose. Then the third topic is sadhana. What are the means for first attaining and then reinforcing this knowledge? That means how to attain the contactless yoga, Asparsha yoga. Now we look at these points in detail. So the first one was Paramata Pariksha, examining some other systems of philosophy which contradict the self-knowledge of Vedanta philosophy. Are they powerful enough to shake my conviction? Gaudapada takes up the argument in respect of the theories of creation proposed by other philosophies, including modern science. I should not say modern science because science was maybe in its primitive stage when Gaudapada wrote these things. This is the only question that we have to solve or to get rid of. The Mandukya Upanishad has done its job. The question about creation is one of the biggest mysteries in the human mind. After we check those theories, maybe we arrange them in 3 groups, we will know that all these theories do not stand the acid test of reasoning. So they are shakeable. We are taking up the argument on the topic of creation because this Upanishad says that there is no creation at all. There is no real creation at all. And hence the truth is beyond any concept of causation, and it is non-dual. It is Brahman alone which was, and which will be, even when you cannot use any verb indicating the existence of time itself. Is, was, will be, these things will have no effect there because that is beyond time. There is no such thing called creation other than the only one infinite existence, the Brahman. It is the misunderstood Brahman which is called creation, just as the mistaken rope is called and seen as a snake. Gaudapada analyzed and refuted 3 possible theories of creation by the opponents. As I have said, we have to establish the truth, and that we will do by negating the ultimate existence of the world. I will just take a break for 1 second. So, number 1, the first theory is called Asat Karya Vadaha, something coming out of nothing. This is a theory that is propagated by Nyaya and Vaisheshika. There is a Nyaya philosophy, philosophy of reasoning, logic, and Vaisheshika, another philosophy. These are among the 6 systems of Indian philosophy. They have much similarities between the dualists or the theologies of all other religions. And then number 2, Satkaryavada, something coming out of something only. This is postulated by Sankhya and Yoga. Sankhya also is a philosophy in the 6 systems, and Yoga another philosophy. Yoga is very famous, you know about it. And they are almost similar philosophies. And then the third one is called Atma Khyati Vadaha of the Buddhists. Buddhistic philosopher. This is also called Kshanika Vijnana Vada. That means there is a reality which is changing constantly. The reality is changeful, or the changefulness, transitoriness is the reality. All these 3 theories ask this fundamental question: was the creation already there before the creation originated or not? Or was the world existent or non-existent before creation? Or in another way, does an existent creation originate, or a non-existent creation originates? So we will take up the first one, which is called the Asat Karya Vada. According to this Asat Karya Vada, Asat means non-existent thing or nothing. Karya means effect. So the meaning comes like this: a non-existent creation alone originates. It is like something coming out of nothing. Because an existent creation is already existent. You don't have to have an origination of that. Therefore, a creation comes out of a non-existent creation. It is irrational to say that an existent creation become existent. Gaudapada refutes this theory by saying that a non-existent thing can never originate. Even grammatically speaking, a non-existent thing cannot be the subject of a verb originate. Cannot be a subject. The subject should be something existent. When the subject is not there, how can you use the verb originates? Like nobody comes, that means there is no coming. No coming. Coming is meaningless. Therefore, a non-existent thing cannot originate into a thing, an effect. This non-existent thing of yours, Asat, cannot originate, cannot become an effect, Karya. Asat Karya Vada. This way we see that Asat Karya Vada fails. Then we check the prospect of the Sat Karya Vada. Sat means existence. Karya means effect. The second theory is that an existent creation originates. That is again a contradiction. A comes out of A. What is the necessity to state this sentence? An existent creation need not originate because it is already there. Then they say, okay, then we withdraw the word originate, because an existent creation, we understand, cannot originate. Fine. But what I am actually saying is an unmanifest potential creation becomes manifest, which we are trying to indicate by the word originate. Then Vedanta argues, okay, that means you are saying that an unmanifest thing is transforming or evolving itself into a manifest thing, creation. That means you are dealing with things that are subject to change. And that happens within the realm or limit of changes, changefulness. But we are trying to find out that which is beyond changes. Therefore, Sat Karya Vada has nothing to do with the reality. You are talking about the changeful creation, but we are trying to find out the unchanging reality. So we have seen that rationally, Asatkaryavada, that is something coming out of nothing, is wrong. And Satkaryavada, that something coming out of something, is also wrong, because it is dealing with what is within the limit of time and space, changefulness. That is, of course, acceptable if the thing is changeful and then perishable. Therefore, a Vedanta student is not interested in those defective theories about the ultimate reality. The material science also falls within Satkaryavada. Transformation is in the time-space limitation. But we are talking about the reality outside the time-space limitation. Then the third one, that is the most difficult one, and that almost goes neck and neck with Vedantic arguments. So we will deal with it very patiently, and I try to make it as easy, logically as easy as possible. The Atma-Khyati-Vada of the Buddhists, the school known as Vijnanavadins or Yogachara school of Buddhism. They call it Atma-Khyati-Vada. Atma means the self, Khyati means assessment, knowledge, Vada means theory. The theory to know the self. The theory is propagated or built upon the idea that we are going to know the nature of the self. Atma. They say there is no creation other than thoughts, that the mind alone is real. These thoughts are absolute and ultimate. There is in fact no creation at all. The creation is like what we experience in our dream. In dream we feel that there is an external world, but they are nothing but in our mind. The external world only in our mind. The dream eye, dream tiger, the dream water, dream thirst, dream river, etc. are nothing but thoughts in my mind. They are not real things. Buddhists say that this world is like a dream, and the reality is nothing but a stream or flow, or series of many thoughts appearing and disappearing momentary. Kshanika Vijnanavada, Kshanika moment between its creation and its dissolution, destruction. The creation of the thought and its destruction, between that, what it is called time. Kshanika, it is momentary. How long is it? You cannot say. That is what is known as the creation, and that is the ultimate truth. Thought is the fundamental material for the creation. Gaudapada asks, if you say there is only a flow of thought, then that means there is a flow like the appearance and disappearance of thought. Appearance and disappearance of thought number 1, then again appearance and disappearance of thought number 2, again appearance and disappearance of thought number 3, and so on and so forth. Then tell me, who knows all these thoughts, and to which single observer these appearance and disappearance of different thoughts are recorded as a single flow? Let me repeat it. Who is the knower of this flow? That is the first question. That means who is the knower of all the thoughts? Thought 1, thought 2, thought 3, thought 4. And you said that each thought is an independent thought appearing and disappearing in a moment. Kshanika. In other words, you are talking about a flow of thoughts. Then you have to tell who is telling that there is a flow of thought. Suppose, for example, I am counting a stream of people passing by a lamppost on the side of a street. The lamppost cannot know how many people crossed it, and therefore cannot know that there was a flow of so many people. On the other hand, according to your principle, thought number 1 cannot know thought number 2. There is no continuance. Then thought number 1 is, when thought number 1 is there is no thought number 2. And when thought number 2 has come, the thought number 1 is no more there. Hence, thought number 2 cannot know that there was a thought number 1 before it. Similar is the difficulty faced by thought 2, thought 3 and thought and all. Therefore, no individual and single thought can talk about the flow of thoughts. This is almost like detecting a particle. The particle just appears and disappears in the nuclear physics. We will come to that. We require something or someone other than the thoughts. This is called the witness consciousness, Sakshi Chaitanyam in Vedanta. This alone can recognize the flow. If I am standing instead of the lamp post, I am standing there. I can count how many people passed by that lamp post. And I can tell that there was a flow of people. But the first person who crossed me will not know how many people crossed there. And if that first person simply appeared before me and disappeared after that, then where is the continuance and how do you call it a flow or series? Hence a flow, here a flow of many thoughts cannot be the ultimate truth. Of course, your idea is applicable to the concept of this relative world, but never of the absolute ultimate reality. Clear? We will then conclude that these three theories are not acceptable because among these one is unacceptable, that something cannot come out of nothing. Another is not needed because something A is not needed to originate itself as A again. And the third one is not about the reality at all. So we discard all these three. The intellect has convinced itself that these three are not acceptable. The truth is that consciousness, which is aware of the changing world and changing thoughts, is alone the ultimate reality. It cannot be known by following the paths presented by these three concepts about the creation. That is why we are resorting to the scriptures. Let me use an oft-quoted statement by Max Planck. It's time for us to go to Planck's quotation. You all know that Max Planck was a German theoretical physicist whose discovery of energy quanta won him the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1918. He says, please see, I am not translating the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad here. I am directly translating Max Planck. Truth, Planck says, truth is unattainable by science. Satkaryavada. Unattainable by science. Science cannot solve the ultimate mystery of nature. And that is because in the last analysis, we ourselves are part of nature and therefore part of the mystery that we are trying to solve. The surgeon is operating upon himself. So he says, the most penetrating eye cannot see itself. The same discovery by the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad states, so many thousands of years ago, 10,000 years ago. The gist of this statement of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is Vijñātāram are kena vijaniyat. How would you know the knower? How would you know the knower? Even if you say, I would use intellect to know the knower, but the knower only uses the intellect. So the intellect cannot know the knower. Of course, we do not care what the Upanishad says until the same thing has been rediscovered thousands of years later by a scientist. And you award a Nobel Prize for this rediscovery or restatement of what has been already stated. So interesting is our wisdom. Indeed, it is so. Planck went on to say further, or went on to restate another truth. A working instrument can never work upon itself. Similarly, our intellect, which is the working instrument, we talked about it before, can only deal with these three theories of Satkaryavada, Asatkaryavada and Atmakyativada. These three theories of creation. But it cannot work on itself. None of these theories that come under the scope of our intellect can help you arrive at the truth. The intellect itself, the instrument itself, fails to work beyond itself, because it is part of the creation. Hence, there is no other way left for us but to take the help of the scriptures, which is outside the limitations of our intellect. Intellect is limited by itself, being the instrument, which cannot work on itself, as Max Planck has said. Hence, it cannot help us find the unchanging truth. So, this is the end of the first topic, that is examining the invalidity of the views of the dualists and scientists. We end the topic number 1 here. Then we go to topic number 2. The second topic is called Alata Drishtanta. It concludes the Vedantic teaching through the example of a firebrand, a piece of burning charcoal, glowing charcoal. Alatam means a burning thing, something, anything, a burning charcoal. Like suppose you have a long stick which is burning at one end. In olden days, they used to have burning sticks in hand while walking through forests that are infested by animals, to scare the animals. Suppose you are in a dark room with a burning stick. The tip of the stick is glowing like red. It can be even a burning incense stick, a burning torchlight. Nowadays, different types of torchlights have come. In the dark room, you are moving the burning incense stick in different trajectory, like in a circle, in an elliptical manner, in a straight line going back and forth, and so on. You get different shapes and patterns Rijuvakradi akaram. It may be straight, it may be triangular, circular. You get various shapes and patterns in darkness. Gaudapada says, you create so many patterns of seemingly continuous fire in the dark room. Then you are playing with the burning incense stick. Then you are playing with the burning incense sticks. These are patterns that you can enjoy. But when you investigate into the patterns, you come to know that there are no patterns at all. In reality, there are no patterns at all. There is only one single glowing tip of a wood. One single glowing tip that creates continuous patterns. Then you discover that these patterns just appear to be born out of this stick. Yes, the stick or the glowing charcoal, the firebrand, the alata is the cause of these patterns. First thing we said that the patterns are not real. There is only one single glowing alata or firebrand. Then we say that all these patterns depend on this one. They are based on this one single alata. They seem to be existing in the stick. They seem to resolve in the stick when you stop the movement. Their origination, their existence and their resolution are only appearances. There is no substance called pattern. All the while, there was only one glowing tip called alatam, firebrand. The patterns created time, space. The pattern created continuity. But there is only one, which is beyond time, space and continuity. Similarly, consciousness alone is the substance. Then the changes or the motions of consciousness are unreal. We call it Maya, relative. And because of this motion of consciousness, there seem to be the moving world appearing and disappearing. The non-tangible consciousness alone appears to be the physical world, tangible physical world. In Vedanta we say that the only non-tangible formless consciousness alone appears as tangible and formed creation. There is no matter at all. Tattvamasi, you are that. I alone appear as the creation. This appearance does not touch me. I am a sparsha. I am contactless. I am like the glowing tip of the firebrand. That is why it is called Alata Shanti Prakaranam. Alata means firebrand, Shanti means complete end. The end of the gymnastics of these firebrand. Alata Shanti means all the patterns are resolved. When the glowing tip comes to rest, all the patterns are resolved. Similarly, when the consciousness comes to rest, all the patterns of consciousness called this world, this creation, this variegated universe are resolved. So this is the second topic, Alata Drishtanta, the example of the firebrand. The third topic, that is the sadhana. What are the means of attaining and then reinforcing this knowledge? What did we say in the beginning? We are going to reinforce our knowledge self-knowledge, which we have gained by the study of the first 3 chapters. So we are going to reinforce that knowledge by shaking it in this chapter, which is called Manana Adhyaya, the chapter which is dedicated to contemplation. And contemplation does not mean that you go on thinking on the same thing. It means that you try to examine this, test this through doubts and reasonings. How to attain the contactlessness? Asparsha Yoga. Gaudapada draws our attention saying, all our problems of the creation and repeated birth and death, called samsara, are because of the strong thinking that I am subject to some samsara, or I have samsara. We remain ignorant as long as we do not question the wrong notion that we are subject to all these things. Actually, we all take the samsara as granted, as what seems to be normal for us. Einstein said that his first questioning was fruitful when he questioned the established normal notions, so-called normal notions. He questioned why the established and normal notions should be true. Why should we have to accept? Because so many people follow it, so many people like it, so many people believe in it, does not prove the truth. All are deluded, misguided, brainwashed. Like Einstein asked, why should the shortest distance between 2 points be always in a straight line? As simple as that. Be always in a straight line. This question was a true question, similar to those that should be asked by a person looking for a non-material meaning of seemingly normal material life. A spiritual seeker asks such non-temporal, non-worldly questions. If we go on and on with the wrong notion, then we do not have the right to ask why we are suffering. Vedanta does not give or provide a solution to the samsara, to the challenges, but it says that you do not have them in reality. It dissolves the problem by highlighting that it need not be solved. It is a difficult fact to digest, but it is the truth by knowing which you do not suffer. You may be in the samsara, but you do not suffer with the suffering. This is the value of our suffering. If life has to be a single whole, then not only our enjoyments, but also our sufferings should have a valid meaning. Then we have a whole life that is meaningful. This truth has to be inquired into. Never take this samsara for granted, because it is a horrible conditioning of the mind. Just drop the notion of bondage itself. The sadhanas, the austerities mentioned or recommended by Vedanta, called sadhana chatushtaya, does that only. They are not meant for removing this world. They are meant for dropping the notion that I am bound by this world, that I am helpless before the consequences of birth and death. These are like passing clouds before the blazing sun of the self. We have seen that Vedanta preaches these or teaches these sadhanas, sadhana chatushtaya. I will touch upon them a little bit, then we are going to end this session. Nitya anitya vastu vivekaha. There are varieties of differentiation or discernment, but Vedanta teaches the ultimate discernment. What is real and what is unreal? What is real and what is unreal? What is good or what is bad? These are all also considerations. But what is real and what is unreal? And just decide to follow the path of reality, whatever leads us to the real. That leads us to the reality which is changeless, which is beyond all problems in this creation. So nitya nitya vastu viveka. So what is real and what is unreal? That type of discernment one has to practice. When we are facing a challenging situation, what do? We see what would be the durable gain from this. So we go after that, not non-durable gains. So in respect of spiritual life also, Vedanta teaches us to differentiate between what is real and what is unreal. With very small things, if we start practicing, then you will see that when a big challenge comes, then we are prepared to face it without being subject to sufferings. Problems will be there. We cannot solve the problems as long as this relative world is there. The relative world is called a world which is full of problems. Problems will be there. They are same for everyone. But the difference between you and others and me will be that what way we face that problem, with what poise and understanding we face that problem. So nitya nitya vastu vivekaha, the differentiation or discernment between what is real and what is unreal, that is the first step. Ihamutra phala bhoga viraga, and leave out all expectations for enjoyments by physical or mental enjoyments. Enjoyments, they are there, but do not take them as an end. They can be means, but they are not ends. Nitya nitya vastu viveka. Ihamutra phala bhoga viraga. And samadhamadi sat sampatti. Shamadama uparaditi tiksha samadhana shraddha. This has been already discussed earlier also, and in the classes on Vedanta and Dharma, and Viveka Chudamani also will be speaking about that. So I will not spend our time in this. We have almost come to the end of our time. So I will end this session and also end this wonderful Vedantic book, the Upanishad, perhaps the most fundamental one in non-dual Vedanta, the Mandukya Upanishad. So the prayer is Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om. That Brahman is complete divine consciousness. This world is also complete divine consciousness. From that Brahman, this manifested world is created, it exists. Even if you subtract or remove this world from that Brahman, still that infinity remains. Infinity minus infinity is infinity only. And that is the main teaching in this 4th chapter of the Upanishad. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all. Friends, we have come to the end of our study of the Mandukya Upanishad. This study has given us enough insight into our own self, which is the only one, Holy One. Hope it will continue to inspire us all with its universal and perennial messages. I am happy that the studies will not be lost because they are available on YouTube. The videos also recorded the trails of our journey through the epidemic period and how we managed to reach you all through insufficient technical support. All is done for the good of many with a very benevolent purpose. To be together with you in our suffering. I gratefully acknowledge your continued support and encouragement to our humble effort. May the blessings of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother be always with you. That is our prayer. Since our Saturday classes and some of the Sunday classes are on the same Vedantic subjects, I would like to think over what book I should choose to alternate our classes with Yoga Sutras. So, in the meantime, I would take some break for at least 2-3 weeks for some other engagements both here in Germany and in France. As many of you might be aware that we are going to build a permanent center in Berlin with permission to hold public events. We have utilized all our experiences that we gained for the last almost 2 decades to plan the infrastructure so that we can provide some accommodation to sincere spiritual seekers and help you all to make your life spiritually meaningful and to reach as many people as possible through different activities. The floor plans are there on our website under Berlin Construction Project or Bau Project Berlin for your information. The work has started. Unfortunately, though, due to several factors, the current estimates for the whole cost has much exceeded our initial expectations. On the other hand, we cannot go back on our commitments at this later stage. Hence, those of you who want to help us in this project, please visit our website at page New Project. Honestly speaking, I never thought of using this platform to appeal for such help. I am sorry for that, please do not mind. But then it is also our duty as non-profit organization to let you all know that there is an occasion for you to help a good cause. Any small help can bring success to a big benevolent purpose. Thank you very much. We will close this session with chanting Om once. Om.